Hello, Internet. How's it going on this wonderful day? Of course, is all good, man. All good. Um, it's a wonderful day here in Western Nebraska. It is chilly and cold and blustery and wonderful winter just creeping up right there. And I tell you what, man, I am having fun. So, um, but I am right now. I'm sharing out the link just openly to the world, man, to come on and join. So, a second, if you want on. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to change things up. I'm going to X that out. We are going to do it the other way, another way around. Is that? Oh, is no one watching? That's okay. We are going to see here. We'll just click this link and get to YouTube. I'll throw us a little weirdness in here in a minute. I'm going to pause that and look at myself. That's hilarious. Okay. Share the link. And we're going to share. Copy that. Say to view tonight's show. And there. And then I'm going to go back over to here. Hey, man, cool. That's awesome. It actually looks like we're going to get crypto to come on, which is fun. For those of you who don't know, hey, Easy Bake, how's it going? I am solo mio today. That's part of it, and you're the first person into the chat, so we are having some weirdness as far as all that goes. Oh, and hey, there you have it. Well, I'm going to go ahead and this zombie, whatever it is, right there. Your time traveler, is that you? I'm going to put the link to share it. The invite actually in the chat here, and whoever wants to come on today, if I decide I'm sick of it, I'll just delete that later. We can go with that. I'm going to do if you want. So today's show is a little weird. I don't know if you saw this Easy Bake or not, but Dan Sakura, who's going to come on and we're going to talk Star Wars and mythology and all that kind of fun stuff. He had to cancel. Had some personal life stuff happen. And so I tried reaching out to some other people. I was not able to get anyone to commit, which is fine. I went ahead and said, you know what? I've got a bunch of projects to work on for my comic company coming up for our mini con. We are co-hosting up here. Got a bunch of mini comics I'm trying to get done. So I'm just going to work on stuff, and if people want to come on, then that's great. So, mini comic co-hosting done here. I'm just going to work on stuff.
Can you hear me?
I can, yeah. I think I'm getting an echo, though. I'm hearing things I said 30 seconds ago. So, I'm assuming Zombie Nomicon is adjusting his speaker settings, maybe putting headphones in. I don't know. That's fine. So, yeah, um, I'm going to actually jump over to the Discord and share that out there. We do have a Discord. It's called Mattriarchy Mayhem, and it doesn't. It's just a place for us to for some people to hang out. I don't think it's too heavily monitored or anything, but it's just sort of a thing. Yeah, very very informal, very dysregulated show today. So,
So is there an echo now?
hey, I think I hear you. Okay, man. How's it going?
I'm going very well. It's lovely to talk to you, actually, rather than just. The only reason I haven't got my camera on is I'm eating my lunch.
Oh
You know,
yes. Now
so
I have to ask here.
yeah,
I have a hard time delineating. Sometimes is that an Australian or South African accent?
Australian.
Australian. Okay. Because I think from here it's got to be close to the middle of the day either place, right? Because
It's
it's
lunchtime where I am.
yeah, it's hard on to evening here. So
Well, I work with Europeans and Americans, so I'm normally up late and early and so forth. So I'm happy to roll with it.
well, good. I'm glad to have you on. I've uh, I've seen you around Twitter, and that's a thing, and you've had some fun things to say. So
Oh yes, haven't we just? Oh yes. Here I am trying to make films and just get stuff out for my Amazon Prime deal, but no, 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 no. It's the comic books that seem to be setting stuff on fire. So
well, see, I wouldn't mind it if it was actually comics, right?
yes, same, exactly.
Just
Yeah,
like this is the best property, or this is the worst property that I've ever had exposure to. But we seem to have this like fixation on the people behind the comics, and while I think that's important, I don't think it's nearly as interesting.
no, no.
Well, I think
I
there's
think I
important
think it's
things.
a difference between a good professional actor and a quote unquote star. Like if you hire Tom Cruise, he's going to be Tom Cruise. He's not normally going to play a character. And I
Yes.
think the leading people in Neo Comics Gate are all about being Tom Cruise and not playing a role or arguing over how many panels on a standard page there should be or flat color versus digital color. They're not about that.
Yeah.
They're not about that.
Well,
But I've made my views about that super painfully clear on Twitter. So unless you want to discuss it now, I'm quite happy to leave that alone.
well, I'm because today is an utterly and thoroughly unsettled thing. I have no agenda, whatever.
Well, if you don't have an agenda, you certainly can't be part of modern Comicsgate then, mate.
Well, I,
Because that's not how Comicsgate seems to work anymore. No agenda.
well, yeah, I have a subtextual set of beliefs and opinions, but I
Sure.
don't have a plan for the show today. I am more than willing to let conversation go wherever it wants, and hopefully it's a little bit enjoyable for the people out there who tune in at any point. So,
Well, as far as I know, you do not have a horse in the Comicsgate race. Is that correct? Any more than
no,
I do? No. So, so
I wouldn't say I have a particular horse. I just want there's in the realm of debate. There are um, really only two things in the realm of debate. There's only really two things that I want to see is I want people to be honest about their failings, and I
yep,
want people to be honest about their successes. Um, and well, I guess the third thing is I want people to make comics. you know,
yeah,
as a fan and creator myself, I spend a good share of my free time working on projects, and I don't and I don't see why people are nittering about on all these other things. And the business is comics. I think there's place for the discussion and there's place for a lot of those kind of issues, but they spend a lot of time said she said instead of either creating art or making substantive debate.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
so yeah,
Except,
that's where I'm at with it.
cynic that I am, the carnival barker, super chat grifter types, I don't see that as purely an ego motivated thing. I think there's a commercial aspect to it. And I think there's also the reason I personally called them carnies and I brought up that Hey Rube thing is That is exactly how they're behaving. You know, we've got Anna, that Star Wars girl, the Hoochie Coo girl, the Come On girl. You've got EVS as one of the leading acrobats who can tolerate no one else in the center ring with him, or maybe he's the ringmaster. And then you've got the followers, of course. But they're making money out of drama, so it's no accident. But I think a lot of it is kayfabe, like in professional wrestling.
Mm.
They're too close to each other for it not to be. And the people who it's not kayfabe about, what really got me into the fight was it is disgustingly, objectionably nasty and personal. Um, crossing legal lines in some cases, despite what the armchair experts say, oh, no, man, lol, can't sue them. Oh, yes, you can. In this day and age, you absolutely can. And I think in a few cases, they should. And
Yeah.
they should refer it to the authorities. And if the authorities say there's no case to answer, that's fine. That's fine. Don't complain to, say, the local police and expect that to be a slam dunk. But the local police take reports about online harassment, and it's up to them and prosecution if they go further. And to me, as long as you're not going around saying, I've reported you to the police and now you're going to be destroyed, if you just say, look, I've referred this to the police, I think that's fine. I don't think that's being a lol cow or a drama queen or anything. I think that's just being normal. Because it's the same if somebody comes to your front door and they don't leave. Well, 911 is the next phone number you should be dialing, really. You should.
That's one
And I
thing
think,
that
yeah, go on.
I was going to say, I think it's one thing that I think is really interesting too, in the nature of the debate as it is that on the one side, people will really argue over the idea that, how, well, you don't really believe in freedom if you're getting the police involved.
No.
I'm like,
No.
that seems like a silly argument. I mean, that's
Well,
why.
it's a specious argument, and I don't believe it's made in a genuine way in most
No,
cases.
I would agree there is a certain amount of that, but I honestly think that there are some of the folks that are involved in the argument, so to speak, that are so removed from the sense of it all that I don't think they're really thinking through the things that they're saying and presenting.
Yeah, yeah,
And so I don't. I think sometimes I think there are people, there are certain actors who are intrinsically, um, dishonest with it. But I think there are some just reactionary to the point where they're not really, they've not processed that they're saying something that is false, like foundationally, philosophically false.
completely. I think as well as an age range, emotional age range, not necessarily physical age range, and the people on the low end of that range are still thinking like not particularly gifted high school students about it all.
Yeah, I tend to personally stay away from the meme, if you will, of emotional age, just because I think there leaves so much room for name calling, and
Yep, sure.
and I think there's so much flex. I mean, I think somebody can be very, very emotionally mature, so to speak, in their job site, and then come home and act the fool on the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that doesn't seem to be a maturity issue. It seems to be a discipline and an honor issue.
Well, I think social media has allowed people to outsource their subconscious and id. That's what I personally think. I think a part of the integrated human mind that for a long time, other than in the ancient mystery schools, was a personal thing locked inside the temple of your own skull, has ended up being raw and exposed like open wounds. And I mean, that's just not healthy. Just to follow the analogy, I mean, think of the infections possible by exposing those layers of yourself on, for example, Twitter, for example, Facebook, for example, kiwi farms. Not good.
Yeah.
But to
Especially when you
feed that,
consider,
you see some of these demagogues in Comicsgate are feeding it though, and that's irresponsible. That's wrong, and
yeah.
it's deliberate. So
Well,
that's
and I would agree with that entirely. And I think, Matt C has just joined us. Thank you. This is actually the curtain to my bedroom because my door is broken right now, and I'm not too proud to say it.
well, you
Matt,
should be. Never give away the secrets of your special effects.
well, I tell you what. Well, okay. To your point, and it's in 1 second. But Matt, if you happen to want to jump on, it's a free for all show. Just let me know, and I'll shoot you the link. Actually, it's above you in the chat. But anyway, back to your point about the vulnerability and the exposure of being overly honest online, right? I think I think that people actually take a look at that uh, um, as a license to not be themselves, right?
Yeah.
As to try to act out their sinister side, their all of that. I had a I had an exchange with some people last weekend, and I had an epiphany, reflecting on it, that uh, these folks, I really believe these folks were they simply believed what was going on wasn't real. This conversation and their actions and their baiting the bear, so to speak, wasn't real, and so there was no moral weight to it.
Hmm.
And I got thinking about that, and it's like that's such a bizarre thing because you know words are actions. You know,
Well, they have an effect, don't they? So
right, yeah. It's not the same as being able to like put a fist against the side of somebody's head, but it still has a lasting effect when you speak to someone else.
well,
And
it can have a much worse effect than a fist to the side of somebody's head.
well,
In fact,
in some ways, yeah, definitely. And not to sound weak about it, but there's just the fact that it can be more lasting. Uh,
hmm
because usually, somebody who's been in a couple of fist fights, once people are done throwing fists, it's usually over with. You might not talk to that person again, but then you won't get in a fight again. But if you continually assault somebody verbally, if you continually degrade them and debase them, not only are you debasing yourself in that, but you're also putting yourself in a place where you're putting them in a place where that can be an ongoing issue. Um, and all that. It's one of those things that our words are actions. They're not the same as an application of force, but they still have a power to them, and I think we need to be mindful, even if we have an online persona, that we still are speaking to truth. Even if we're going somewhere around it.
I don't even mind if people aren't going to be reasonable. I would like them to still be honest about not being reasonable. That's all.
Yeah.
Like I've said several times, most recently just before the Dark Gift comics, I'm not a Christian and I don't believe in the concept of universal peace. I don't believe it's real and I don't personally support it. You have to reserve the right to the choice of weapons in all situations, and you should send five of your enemies to hell before you die. That's my belief. So I'm not a Christian. So I'm obviously not a Christian, but you got to be honest about it. Not this nonsense about sort of, oh man, you're getting cut up over nothing. It's just words. All this horrific using the F word on people, faggot. I'll say it once. This F word stuff. I totally support all the different diversity people, but I'm still going to call people faggot as an insult. I mean, what the hell was that about,
Well,
really?
and here's the thing for me on that, and I think it's the same word with other epithets as well.
Oh
It's
yeah,
insult or it's not, right?
yes, exactly.
So you don't get it like I have, and I mean, and I come from a cultural position where you only give grief to the people you care about, right? That was kind of the family I grew up in, and so I've got a buddy, and I call him an idiot to his face constantly,
Yeah.
and he calls me a pompous asshole, and that's our thing, and I love this guy. I don't don't have any questions about it, and I wouldn't be harsh with him if I thought he took me seriously. You know what I mean?
Yep, absolutely.
And that's the nature of that relationship, because there's a certain
But
intimacy.
you're talking about boundaries there, though,
Yeah,
and
yeah, exactly.
Comicsgate has attracted a coterie of sociopaths.
Mhm.
That's the bottom line. That's why the hurtful language, I think, because they don't understand boundaries, they resent them. They thrive on breaking through them, I think,
Mhm.
in a way. They're transgressive people in some cases.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable statement.
Well, it's hard not to think it when you observe what they do.
Well, yeah, I mean, in terms of the definition of it, and I think that there's a certain level of, speaking from an arts perspective, I think it's not a bad thing to push boundaries, and to really test out. Like, I am a person I'm a Christian. I do believe there's absolute truth in the world. I think that it's part of our um, a thinking man's mission is to seek out truth, even if you never find it, right? And
I agree. I agree with that. I absolutely
yeah,
agree with
yeah,
that.
and I think that that's part of it. And so I think that we need to be able to push ourselves past where we're comfortable to look toward truth. And so pushing our boundaries, and even the people that we're closest to, that are push them to strive too. But that can't be done outside of. It can't be done effectively. It can't be done constructively outside of a relationship that knows what those boundaries are. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but I mean, see, there's a semiotic thing in that because semiotic thing. Very sophisticated language. No, but it is semiotic. It's intention based, and what the answers are you're seeking. It's the end of the original and best Planet of the Apes film with Dr. Zayas saying you'll find the answers you seek, but you may not like the answers that you find. As long as you're prepared to accept that and not go absolutely batshit insane at the outcome,
Mhm.
I think you're okay. But you see, that assumes that it's an honest quest for truth rather than some sort of dissociative liminal acting out,
Yeah.
more in the manner of a juvenile delinquent, say, or any other kind of liminal subgroup, like war campaign and EVS is an example of this, where they have abandoned society's normal scoring system and they're now scoring themselves points on a different kind of scorecard for behavior that the general society would find repugnant or unacceptable. That's what being liminal is. And it's not possible to reason with liminal people unless they abandon that alternative scoring system. Because everything you do that is reasonable, civilized, and normative, let's say, uh, they reject. They reject. In fact,
Yeah.
this is why people say, "Oh, don't feed the trolls" and so on. Well, I mean, that's a lovely idea, but that's actually not how life works at all. And even Jesus said, "Get some swords." So even Jesus didn't say, "Oh, just ignore them and don't feed the trolls."
Yeah.
You know, well, I guess what I'm saying in a very prolix way is there has to be some reality to interactions online or in real life. There has to be. You can't just sit there turning the other cheek
Mhm.
all of the time, or you will be abused and bitten away until you're just a carcass. And then these scummy people will just drift on to somebody else, as indeed they have.
Mhm. And that's one of the things that I really come to. And I've been struggling with looking about ways of phrasing this. But one aspect of this thinking is like, I don't think everybody is a fighter, and so I think for some people, just disengaging is the only way to cope. Um, but at the same time, you
If
know,
they're allowed to.
if they're allowed to, if they're allowed to, and even for sometimes there you have some people that even that that because of the position they're in, or because of the kind of person they are, they the only choice they have for greater success is to take a few lumps along the process. And that's why I think that those of us, myself included, who are built for fighting, uh, because I am a very angry person, and I am built for fighting. And if my weapon is words, then that's fine. I get less trips to the doctor and less tickets from the police that way. Um, so I'm okay with doing with that. But I think for those of us who are built for fighting, that it becomes an important thing to uh, place ourselves in the midst of those interactions, and to speak truth, and to hold to some sort of honor, um, because
Well, for
like
starters, when you're sitting there listening or reading stone cold bullshit, which you know is not just random sociopathic nonsense, but it's calculated or engineered by somebody, in some cases, Ethan, um, it needs to be called out, even if it's not directly affecting you. I mean, Dark Gift Comics and I had a friendly argument today about it, and he's a real middle of the road guy. And like, can't we all just get along? And I keep saying to him, no, we can't, because one side won't. And he was saying, oh, we're all riding, because I said, we're all riding on the same train. And he said, oh, well, I'm just holding on to the pole looking at both sides of seats. But you see, one side of the seats is bitching at the other, okay, but the side they're bitching at are trying to take both sets of seats just in case they need them in the future. They're affecting people's livelihoods, and they're crossing the line a lot more often. So if I'm in that train car, who will I be telling to shut the fuck up first? The aggressors.
Yes.
And then also some of the victims shots fired and responding, then you say to them too, stop responding. But if you can't get clear air long enough to stop it, it's the wrong time to talk, oh, can't we all get along? If bullets are still whizzing around, that's why I took that crack at him saying, wouldn't you have been a fucking delight during World War II? Yeah, there's an absolute time for a treaty or for peace, but it is not in 1940 or 1941 when the whole damn world's on fire and people are getting stuffed into goddamn trains going to camps. That's not the time to say, look, I think Hitler's basically a decent kind of guy. I don't think Stalin has been represented correctly in the press. I think we should chill out and, we just leave them alone and ignore them. What happens in a war of aggression when you leave things alone and ignore it?
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things where, the real question is, can't we all just get along? The answer is no.
No, exactly.
That's not everybody's goal. And I mean, and I'm not saying that like that is in terms of the words of aggression. Like I refuse to get along with certain people. It's simply that not everybody has that mission. And if you don't have that mission, you're not going to play that game. That's just the way it is.
What annoys me about this, though, people make this specious argument, a Platonic or Socratic argument about it's ignorance, not evil, that makes these people do this. One could say it's usually ignorance. It's not always ignorance.
Mm.
And sometimes, as you say, they don't want peace. Do you really think Ro Kabir doesn't want peace? He's obviously bigoted against Christians. He has some real sexual issues. That's obvious. I mean, that's just obvious. That's clinical. That's not. I don't think that's up for any genuine debate. So, does a man like that and his boss, who claims not to be his boss, the lack of genuineness in their behaviour and their speech doesn't indicate they want peace, does it? They keep throwing punches while they're saying, "Can't we all get along?" They're like the Martians in Mars Attacks. Stop, please. We come in peace. Zap, 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 zap. Stop, please. I mean, as if, really. I don't know. I just feel it's a kind of moral weakness or a lack of appetite for confrontation in people to, oh no, we should all just get along. I'd love to, but I wasn't afforded the opportunity.
Well, and I think one of the things that we're seeing, one of the things I think is really, I'm going to sideline a little bit.
Yeah.
One of the things I think is really interesting is I hear so many people in the last 6 weeks saying, things have gotten really ugly. Things have gotten really ugly. And from somebody who's, I don't know, I guess been patrolling, looking for stuff, and you find what you look for, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, like it's not that it's gotten ugly; it's that it's gotten obvious.
Yes.
A lot of people have been involved in this sort of thing. You look at what happened with Nurkish, with Tim Lim.
Well, those two examples are disgraceful, actually.
Yeah.
To me, I don't know. Maybe there is some, third act twist about each of those people, and we don't know the real story. But what I do know is, in both cases, ETS Elvis, as I call him, has muttered darkly and hinted and outright said, "I've got DMs, I've got this, I've got that." Then just show it and prove it, and then people like me would abandon their side of that argument, and you too, presumably. But you know what? He hasn't substantiated anything to anybody's satisfaction.
Yeah, I would agree with that entirely. And even the nature of the questions that people have about that issue seem to be, they come back and they're just something missing with the debate. It's like the things you're saying and the things you're showing don't reflect what you're claiming, right? Those there's a disconnect between, oh, Tim was out to get Ethan, and the screen caps you have from the chat on the video. Those don't mean the same thing.
What he seems to forget is there were a lot of people, me included, sitting there watching all of this crap back in the day. He seems to forget that. because he's got that captive audience or voluntarily enslaved audience who just agree with him all the time, which is why I use those Nero Peter Ustinov clips about him, because it's like that. Brilliant Caesar, yes, Caesar. Magnificent Caesar. Nobody other than Petronius Arbiter, which in his case is Richard C. Meyer, is ever saying, actually, that comes off kind of childish. That's kind of silly. And now Richard C. Meyer, for various reasons, has been silenced about him and has to be supportive of him. And there's really nobody left. Captain Cummings was the last person who really identified this and called it out.
Yeah.
And
Well, I think he was. I think he was the. I wouldn't say that he was the last because I know a lot of people have been.
okay. What I mean is, after that point, these battle lines were drawn, and after that point, the incipient, whether it's controlling instinct, narcissism, whatever, other people's opinions, it's all opinion about EVS, of course, legally. But after the Cummings threat was dealt with, that's when it really went into overdrive about, you are with me or against me. And that Vox Pop thing back in September 2018, people say that started it, but it really only threw into contrast what was already there, which is
Yeah.
us and them. And you see, emotionally, psychologically, he obviously thrives on that, but financially, he thrives on it too. Because the oxygen he's sucking in is oxygen other people aren't getting now. There's no more Xerox PARC. There's no more real collaboration and friendliness. It's all pimp, carnival, grift, alternate cover. EVS is doing a cover for me kind of shit. He's a very technically gifted artist, but I find his art technically good but completely soulless. And that to me is another sign of a narcissist. Technically good, no real emotion in the art because they're so locked in. But that's just an opinion.
Mm.
I'm just stating an opinion.
Yeah, I haven't really studied any of his recent stuff enough to form that. In an unrelated,
Yeah.
sort of unrelated topic, of course, Cyberfrog is now getting out there, and people either love it or hate it, and I suppose that's par for the course.
Hmm.
But I didn't. I am not. I was not a backer for that project, just because when he was first talking about the Cyberfrog property back in early 2018, he had been talking about all of his old stories and all of his old stuff and how he never really felt like he finished it.
Hmm.
And then when he announced Blood Honey, he is like, okay, I'm leaving all of that alone. You don't have to know any of that stuff. We're not gonna. I was talking about reprinting, but we're not. We're just gonna go with a whole new story.
And yet,
and that was the moment where I was like, nah. I was interested to see how you picked up from where you left off. But if you're not really picking up, if you're going to say this is a whole different thing, then you had a very small run that you seemed to be very proud of, and from way back in the day. And if you're not even going to show us that, then I don't know that I care. I just sort of noped out at that point.
So, I don't know what year it ended for him with Cyberfrog back in the day, back when he was calling it a horrible little character, quote unquote, and one that he was, quote, embarrassed, unquote, of. But it seems very much to me that whatever year in the 90s that was, this whole thing now has basically been winning that argument. In the same way somebody who didn't get the cheerleader in high school, that's the thing they make a beeline for in adulthood, is dating or marrying a cheerleader because they missed out on that. Do you know what I mean? It seems to me it's become this Ahab and Moby Dick style. I am right. Cyberfrog is good, and now it's been proven, and I'm vindicated. And okay, he scratched the itch. So just close the book there. But I refunded fairly early when I could see the writing on the wall that it was either never going to come or come so late. I just thought, you know what? No thanks. Put my beer down, walk out. And from what I've seen of it, the art is very technically good. It would be really silly to suggest otherwise. But it just, I don't know, man. It's a passionless passion project. And now I just wonder how much of that art was already in existence in draft form. Because one thing I did notice is it seems to, like when people were saying Bill Clinton's in it, that is a remarkable authorial achievement to flash back to the 90s to such a powerful extent that you can capture it like that. Unless, of course, you're digging up art from the 90s and finishing it, and saying that this is the new thing, because it does not come off to me like a 2019 story. Set in whatever year. Do you know
Right.
what I mean?
Yeah.
This is not the mid '90s. This is not the mid '90s comic version of Stranger Things. Is what I'm saying.
Right. Well, and I mean, that's one of the things that a lot of people say is it's perfectly flawlessly a '90s book, and if you loved Image, then you'll love this. But I think one of the things I'm find most interesting too about the different reviews I've watched, because I've watched several. I've
Hmm.
watched several pro, like, this is I like this and I didn't like this reviews, and
Yeah.
the funny thing about it is they all say exactly the same thing. Um, it's just the spin is different. Um, Either X, Y, and Z is true about this book, and that's why I hate it, or X, Y, and Z is true about this book, and that's why I like it. So
Yes.
everybody, and the funny thing is, like, off of the reviews, right? The Twitter chatter or the comments, people are talking about reviews being fair or not fair, and oh, your review wasn't fair, and then person B, their review is the same as person A's. They just disagreed on the summation statement, and so I think that there's a lot of honesty going on about it. I think people just like what they like and don't like what they don't like, and for some people, it being 11 months late was just too much. So
I can't believe the people who are apologists for the delay.
yeah.
Um, um, get a distribution deal and try doing that.
Mm.
That would be my hot tip. Try and do that in an industry that really still is an industry where there are thousands of people ready to take your place, and where whatever God bless us all. No matter how good what you do is, it's better to be on time than perfect, because they will tear your contract up and shit can you quicker than you can say your own name.
Mm.
Comics is so unprofessional and so well. The tragedy is American comics are dying or dead. That's what it really is. You've only got to look at the circus of oddities that Disney and AT&T employ for their comics now. If it was a serious industry like it used to be, you would not have those bizarre people with no technical or professional background writing or drawing comics, would you?
Yeah, it's one of those things where I honestly think that, and this is something I've been given a lot of thought to, and obviously I haven't cracked the code. Well, you might not know, but I've been doing web and print indie comics since 2006.
Okay, you paid your
Very
dues then, haven't you?
unsuccessfully.
No, 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 no. But I mean, uh, okay, whatever you mean by unsuccessful, you
Well,
have you have begun, worked, completed, and published something.
oh yeah.
Now, if you made $1 for that, you're a professional. Now you
See
can
here.
say what kind of professional you are, writer, artist, both. You're a professional if you earned $1. That's the end of it.
Yeah, we're not in the black yet. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, but I mean, even the offer has value, and if you earn, you earn. That's life.
Yeah.
That's
So,
life.
but with that, yeah, of course. But my only point is saying that despite the fact that I've not been able to crack the code, I think that there is, just from the things I've seen, I think that there is a comics market that is separate from our main distribution system. And I really think that it's the distribution system that's failing, not the comics market. I think that people
Absolutely.
just rethink the way we look at comic books and their marketing and their delivery systems. And I think that's the ticket to change that, because I honestly think there can be a successful cottage industry made out of something like that.
Oh, I don't think it has to be a cottage industry. The example I've used in the past, talking to actual professionals like you, is it's opera versus popular music. There was a time when opera was popular music,
Mm.
and that time passed. Popular music didn't die or become less profitable. Opera moved away. The channels changed. The technology changed. Every time technology changes, distribution technology changes, it's an opportunity for people to jump on and jump off. Opera was one of the casualties. Doo wop singers were one of the casualties.
Yep.
80s 80s techno electronica, one of the casualties, and it will continue to happen. Disney and AT&T are a kind of false siren song that comic people, people who want to write and draw their own comics and publish them, they want to get back to that Stan Lee, Jack Kirby first 75 issues of Fantastic Four, or they want to get back to the early 80s Spider-Man or the Image of the mid 90s. There is no, like the Hagakure says, there is no returning to the spirit of 100 years ago. It's gone. It's over. It can't be returned to. You've got to look at what you loved about it and recreate it in a new, meaningful form. You can't just literally make a cover that looks like a Jack Kirby cover. I mean, I've done that as a vanity project. I've done an entire graphic novel like a Jack Kirby style art, which is not my natural form of art. I scratched an itch. Didn't make a whole lot of money, but it came out on time, and it went through print on demand and digital distribution. Because what was the point of trying to get Diamond to do it? Diamond's never going to support an indie, a real indie. Why
No.
would they? It's like the railway wars of the 19th century in the Americas. They're never going to support an indie in the railway industry, are they? Come on, it's the same. It's the same.
I would absolutely agree that that's a big factor in that. That it's because I think when it comes down to it, the distribution system that people are getting getting caught up on, the whole diamond, the whole direct market idea, even the newsstand, which I honestly think the newsstand holds more hope for the future than people give it credit. Just because you need entry level products or something like that, and there isn't anything. Um, I think web comics with the prevalence of tablets have an untapped future too.
Yep.
Um, but with that, I think that with what Alternative's got going on with their distribution network, I mean, I think they were the only diamond distributed company in 2017 that actually turned a profit.
For
That's
some weird reason.
and that's crazy. That's crazy. They've got one full time employee, you know, and a bunch of contractors, and I think they had a part time guy during their campaign,
But
um,
that's part of the reason.
but that's crazy, right?
Well, see, if it works, it's not crazy, is it? It's
Well, I
like
know
it's like it's
that's
like it's like guerrilla filmmaking, and in film where they say there's the right way to do a budget, which is wrong. It's wrong to do it the right way, and there's the wrong way to do a budget, which is right. The right way to do a budget in film, which is wrong, which is similar to Mitch Brettweiser with his comic company. What is this going to cost? And you do up your budget. It's beautiful. You got all the entries. 25 million. Well, that makes it impossible, doesn't it? As opposed to the wrong, in quotes, way to do a budget, which is literally how much money have we got? Like literally, including loose change. Oh, we got like 4 grand. Then I guess that's the budget of the film. So how is that going to work? Well, I don't know, but we'll find out. Alterna did that, not
yes,
the Brett Weiss's. I think there's a lot of emotion in a lot of Comicsgate, and I mean in the broad sense of Comicsgate, not this pathetic current sort of dichotomous definition of it. Indies, indies. There's a lot of indies who want to scratch an itch about being Stan Lee or Jack Kirby or having a Marvel bullpen, or that time they worked for DC and they never got respect, so now they want to run their own DC. Well, that could all be admirable, but where's your bottom line in doing that kind of jive? Because I can't see how any of those things are going to make money in the long term.
mm, yeah,
Well, I mean, can you? Like the Britwisers, it seems nice. They've got their whatever it's called, allegiance or whatever, and they've got their office, downtown office. Um, I don't know, man. I would have thought the office would come after a successful sale. I would have thought that's when you worry about an office, because otherwise, what are you selling? Who's visiting? Why are you there? I don't know. I don't know. I just
no, I'm kind of with you there. I have like I said, I was talking about my very much of my horse in the fight is just honesty. And even if I don't agree with everything the Brightwisers have done, and I'm not going to say I'm not annoyed that I don't have Red Rooster in my hand, because that was probably the book I was most excited for.
yep.
At the same time, they've been really honest about it, and
Yeah, but as Comic Hut says, it's all very well to be quote unquote honest about it and own the downside. They haven't really explained or put a stop to that downside. They haven't said, "Yeah, I get it. Red Rooster's coming out next," have they? You see.
yeah, yeah, I get that. But I just like I said, I don't know.
They haven't scaled the heights of lunacy that EVS did, though, in some people's opinion.
Well, not being, treating your fans well is an important thing too.
Well, they're responsive and they're normal. Nobody could say they're not normal, and they are responsive and they are polite. They don't seem to inspire this incredible level of vitriol. And of course, we know why Elvis inspires that vitriol, because he is extremely abusive and unpleasant. He's one of those people. If he had said in real life to me within arm's range what he said to me online, I'd have put that guy down like a dog. I would have punched that guy out, and not in an internet tough guy, come round to my house and we'll have a shootout, NBA versus that umbrella grifter kind of thing. I just mean as a normal man to man, don't say shit like that. Okay? Not to a mature man who's paid his dues. Don't. I'd happily have the police interview and the potential assault charge, because he crosses a line with people like a schoolyard bully. We're not in a schoolyard, amigo. We're not in a schoolyard. So he just needs to calm down, but I don't think he can, you see.
Well, that is quite possible. I'm going to cut you off there, though.
Okay.
Boy, I do have some other questions about stuff, but I wanted to welcome.
What have I walked into?
Oh my goodness! I opened the floor to whatever came out, and it exploded.
Salam alaikum. It's just a normal meeting online of the Nation of Islam.
Are you Jean-Luc Meisel?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
Jean-Luc Connery, you mean? The Red Connery guy?
Yeah, correct, yeah.
No, I'm not. He seems.
You sound like a guy he's trying to do an impression of.
Oh, I see. Okay. He's a fascinating and complicated individual that I would love to do shrooms with sometime, because
interesting.
That mind needs to be explored. The Red Sean Connery guy's mind, there's a lot of cogs turning there. It's a complicated piece of clockwork there, I think.
Well, I don't know that I have an opinion on that, but Crypto Comics, Matt, thanks for coming on. I know that we had no plans or anything, but
what are you talking about though? Like, what did I?
Oh
what
man!
I walk in on?
Well, the giant in the playground.
Yeah. We're talking about all of the craziness on the Twitter lately, and how it hasn't just been lately.
The CG Heebie Jeebies.
Oh my goodness!
What are you talking about?
I love that. That's a great descriptor.
Yeah, the CG Heebie Jeebies.
The Clown Guild.
You got a way with words, man.
Just the best thing to do is avoid it. That's all I can say. Try to avoid it. Try to ignore it as best you can. It's hard. Trust me. If anybody knows, it's hard. It's hard.
I know. But one of the things I want to, speaking about that, not entirely taking your own advice. I saw some exchanges you had with Ethan yesterday.
Caesar?
Yeah, that's the one. And
Caesar.
One of the things I think
every time I even read that, I cringe. The Caesar stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, boy.
One of the things I've taken that I noticed in that conversation was just how you were just coming back to, let's just make comics. The theatrics are theatrical, but let's just make comics. And I think that's a really great message. And I'm glad to hear somebody saying that.
Well, Ethan said it too. Let's not forget Ethan said it too. And I've been torn. I'll talk about this for just a second. Because I have friends, and they're not happy with Ethan. But I don't know anybody that actually hates him. Like hates him. It's more just like a great disappointment. Like I kind of said, there was, I just wish you go back to pretending you were just like Uncle Ethan again and just this lovable character. And the business side has been way too public. And, I don't know. I'm like I said, I will happily speak with him in private anytime, man to man. Totally real, like we're talking right now, right?
Mm-hmm. He's got to knock
and to be quite honest, he needs somebody he can talk to like that, who's not afraid to tell him what's what. I think. I don't know, man. It's just.
I think we all need somebody to remind us that we're just human.
It can't be.
Forget that. With
I can't imagine. I mean, I can't imagine. I can't imagine what it's like to wake up and like get on Twitter and see people just endlessly attacking you,
and for no reason.
And
Unprovoked and for no reason at all.
Well,
so
even if it's
Ethan and I have that in common. We can identify with each other. It's just two different groups are, going at us. And
No, I was actually being completely sarcastic because the SJWs have left him alone. It's actually people he's called everything under the sun who are going after him
customers.
every day now.
Yeah, it's customers like me.
Alienating your customers is not the same thing as saying to another employed artist or writer, "What the F is up with you?" The stuff that
And
you
quite
do.
honestly, I'm completely fine with anyone alienating their customer. That's absolutely acceptable to do. You can alienate your customer. There's nothing wrong with that. You're not going to get that customer. It's not my business. It's not my problem. The issue is there's a large group of people who get involved in Ethan's business. And that's not good for business.
And I think that actually flashes back to, not to self-aggrandize too much, but what really kind of pushed me toward the line of where I've come to in thinking a lot of ways. Back in February, after the Caesar had been going on for probably 6 months at that point, I reached out to Ethan. He put a post about how why can't we all just get along, and I flatly said I think put down the laurel wreath and we will, right? That's why I phrased it. And he had some snarky comment about my flat cap, and then everybody in the certain group of people decided to make fun of me for 3 days because I had the gall to suggest that pretending to be a god king is bad for a movement based on the rights of the individual. Mm-hmm. So
you are allowed to do whatever you want to your customers or audience, but what you're not allowed to do when they leave is complain about them and hound them.
Follow them around. Follow them everywhere they go.
If they put your cup of coffee down in your cafe and say, "You are not a nice guy. I don't want to eat or drink here again," you're well within your rights to say, "Sorry to see you go," or to go off at them like a lunatic. But you're not allowed to follow them down the street. You're not allowed to get the lowlives who hang out in your cafe all day to follow them down the street. You're not allowed to blacken their name in public. That's ridiculous. Ridiculous behavior. Unprofessional behavior.
Very unprofessional, yeah.
And then don't come, "I'm a professional, I'm this, I'm that, I'm Caesar," for crying out loud.
I almost feel like that's like a troll at this point,
Well, I mean, it is.
Trolling half the time.
But I mean, I still think that's why I kept calling him Nero and showing those Peter Ustinov Nero clips. There is some truth to the comparison. I mean, Seneca, Nero's own tutor, said comparisons are always odious. They're odious because they're so true. He behaves like Nero. Richard C. Meyer is his Petronius arbiter, the only man who can dare criticize Nero, and even then has to be very careful about it. And the rest of them are like lapdogs at Nero's court. This war campaign nonsense. I mean, to me, it's not a business model. How can that be a business model? Which means it's like the signature of a crime, and I'm not saying it's criminal. I'm just saying it's like a psychological signature where what you do in each of your sets of behaviors, which is common to all of them, is what you're really focused on. And he talks a lot about money. He talks a lot about power and power of other people. And he talks a lot about people kneeling. I don't know what the kneeling is about. Quite disturbing given what some of the war campaign imagery is. It's peculiar to me. There's lots of shocking filmmakers, but they don't do this.
No, this is abhorrent behavior.
Well,
and now it's like...
There's abhorrent filmmakers, but they don't cross that line. Usually because the studio or the independent contracting producer says to them, "You know what? You even look like you're going to do shit like that again. You're gone, and you're gone with everyone in the world, because it's a small world now. You'd cross that line again, find something else to do." But there's, like you said, there's no one to even Richard C. Meyer is Petronius arbiter. Even Petronius has to be very careful when he talks to Nero. And there was that weird passive-aggressive, he's got his fundraiser. It'd be kind of a shame if anything happened to that, wouldn't it? Like he needs that for his case. And everybody's going, Oh, but Ethan
I
doesn't
don't
control
agree
that. Well, the thing is,
that's a bit of a conspiracy theory to me.
Sure, I agree. It is. Doesn't mean it's not true. He can turn that funding off.
I mean, he can, but he's not gonna. He wouldn't do that.
Okay, that's great then.
That's
fantastic to hear. That's good.
Yeah, he wouldn't do that. I don't believe that.
I mean, and one of the things it comes to is the for my money, so to speak. I don't think it's even so much with that it's a serious discussion of whether or not he would, but the fact that he's in a position where people are talking about it, right? Like
again,
that's the thing that's like, well, people bring up the subject because things are strange and just really abnormal with the whole situation, and that leaves open that question, right?
One point of order. Mike S. Miller, he's no beauty either.
Well, I don't think
he's been taking a lot of passive aggressive shots. He's been throwing lots of cans of gasoline.
Most people are passive aggressive, though.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, in particular, he keeps walking away saying, "I'm out. I don't want to know."
You're not allowed to get out. Trust me on this one. You're not allowed to get. And Ethan has even tweeted it. You don't leave CG. You just become an SJW. You're made into an SJW.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the that comes to a personal issue. Problem with mine is I'm still thinking this through. I'm not sure I'm 100% convinced that this is a truism yet, but I'm starting to believe that there is nothing more SJW than assigning people as an SJW and using that it's just another way of grouping somebody else into a collective.
Like get a freaking thesaurus.
Yeah, it's but with that, I think that I know Crypto knows very well. I mean, you had.
Well, really, Reese, I hope you're ready for it, buddy, because it's going to come down. Because now I'm on your stream. You're going to get more views. You're going to get attacked all week online. It's going to grow your presence, and you're not going to like it though, because you're a normal person and you don't want your presence to grow by being attacked endlessly.
Well, and here's part
apparently
of the thing.
Some people's business.
One of the things we were talking about ahead of time is, and I know you know this, that I'm not one to shy away from an argument. So
I would say conversation.
Well, fair enough. An argument.
I think most people perceive they're in an argument on Twitter, and I'm just like, I think it's just a conversation.
Oh yeah, no, I think that's actually a really good point, because what I was using is, I think an argument is a conversation with teeth, right? So when you have different opinions about it, but you can still be pleasant.
I wouldn't call that an argument. I call that a debate.
Fair enough.
A rigorous debate.
A rigorous debate, but I mean, in a classical sense, your argument is just your position in a debate. Right?
I mean, have you ever screamed out loud what you're typing to someone on Twitter?
No.
You're not an argument then. It's probably not an argument.
I have problems regulating my vocal volume, so sometimes explaining it to other people, I've got.
You're like Pete Sampras.
But the other thing is, there's been structured harassment by the war campaign weirdos. And that's not an argument either. That's not an argument.
No, it's just mockery.
Crosses the mockery line in some cases too. In my opinion.
No, I would agree. There's a that comes to the semantic argument. Is harassment a form of mockery, or can mockery ascend to the form of harassment?
No, it's harassment. It's in some of these cases, it's risen to the level of cyber stalking.
No, I would absolutely agree with that.
Misdemeanor crime. Misdemeanor crime is not mockery. Mockery may be a form of misdemeanor crime in some cases, but that is not mockery.
Saturday Night Live changes their topic from scene to scene. Saturday Night Live doesn't do a year of let's fuck with somebody in the audience.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like where they bring the same guy back and they're just like, no, you have to sit here now. You don't have a choice. Sit here. We're going to make fun of you.
They're just going to. And the thing that gets me about this, and this is one of the situations, our discussion I was in last week with somebody, is that, are all of these things free speech? Maybe they are. But here's the thing, though. No.
Hang on. Let's be specific. Let's be specific and legalistic.
Okay.
Are they all free speech? Well, I mean, according to God-given rights, they're all free speech. Are they all permitted or protected free speech? Hell no, they're not.
Right. And
They're not.
that's what it comes to. That comes to the point of what I was explaining or was trying to explain to this person is I don't believe that freedom of speech trumps freedom of association. Right?
For
So
starters.
if you and your buddies are in the locker room back in high school and you're telling disgusting stories, right? Well and good. You try that front row at church on Sunday morning, people are going to take an issue with it, right? So, you may have the freedom of speech, but you can't enforce your association on people. You can't use your speech to take other people's speech or other people's associations away from them. And if Twitter is supposed to be an open platform where everybody's welcome, supposed to be, right? Then using Twitter as a platform to keep other people from speaking or to inhibit their freedom of association isn't a use of free speech. It's an abuse of free speech. That's my take on it.
I mean, it's almost like this. I mean, this is this is flirting with racketeering. It's like 21st century digital racketeering.
Yeah,
this is extortion.
And as I raised the other week, it's also Gelagschaft.
Except they don't. It's like it's extortion. Except they're not shaking you down for money.
No. Well, that's why it's Gleichschaltung and not racketeering. Yeah. Gleichschaltung, the Nazi concept of coordination. It originally meant the coordination of an automatic gearbox, so that you synchronize gears. But Gleichschaltung became the Nazi word for mental coordination, soft, perpetual bullying to fall into line and to train your own mind so that you wouldn't even think of rebelling. And that is what the bullying by the war campaign and the rest of this scummy behavior achieves, Gleichschaltung. Because you can hear and see people on Twitter, especially on Twitter, saying, I'm out. I can't take the harassment. I don't want to know. I'm out. And the tragedy for modern American comics is that they're not just saying they're out of Comicsgate, quote unquote. They're saying, I'm out of comics. Like, if this is what indie comics are, I don't want to know. I'm gone. I'll do something else. It's madness. Coordination, Gleichschaltung. Very sinister. Very, very sinister. And I don't believe it's accidental.
No, I would agree. But I mean, even if it wasn't, I think even if there wasn't an overt coordination, like some sort of puppet master, and maybe there is. We'll just leave that off. But I think.
Well, I mean, if you listen to the Max Rebo tapes, for lack of a better term for them, I don't know what else to call them. I'm not even sure. I don't want to put that in Max's lap either, because I'm not even sure if that's where they came from. It's just that's what I heard when I got the tapes.
Just call them that.
Yeah, the Max Rebo tapes, dude. Bro, I mean, it's 100% clear. No one is to go after any war campaign members. You do not go after anyone unless Roe has approved it first.
Well, also, side note,
ambiguous.
Unrelated thing. I just thought of something. You remember? I don't know if you saw this. I think it's just before you came back to Twitter because you were gone for like 6 months.
6 months, yeah. And the harassment, and it was endless on here.
Well, and like one of the things is in the middle of all of that, just before I was introduced to you, I think, or just after I was introduced to you, somebody tried, like they went on this huge thread trying to dissect your little Crypto Comics logo to demonstrate how you were an open Satanist.
Bro, I saw that, and I thought that was really, really bizarre.
I was
that you're a Satanist.
Well, yeah, I'm like a Wiccan or witch or Satan. I don't know. It was all of it, dude. It was like Alex Jones conspiracy.
Dude, I was like, I talked to the guy. I said, dude,
but what's interesting is like, I'm
so far wrong.
No, I'm a Christian. I'm a Christian.
Okay, hang on. Let's say you're not.
But let me finish.
Let's say you are a Satanist. There's no freedom of religion anymore.
I'm not a Satanist. That's too petty.
Here's the thing: this was before Pride Month, right? So there at the time there was a section of the war campaign that pretended to be evangelical, and maybe they are. I'm not questioning their relationship with God, but they were very open about it. There was an atheist wing and a fundamentalist wing, and then the Eastern religious wing, and they wouldn't really coordinate together on topics. They would stick to specific whatevers. And but then after June, like all myths are off, and like I just saw one guy who had a cross and a WC in his logo today. That's the first time I've seen anything like that since Pride Month.
But is that fake?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
I don't mean his real spiritual beliefs. I mean,
Yeah.
do you think that that's cover so that they can infiltrate and troll in a different way?
I don't know. I haven't really. I don't have a lot of association with that fellow.
I mean, they put this much. The reason I think in conspiracy or organized crime really is what it is. Terms is, conspiring together to commit a forbidden act of some kind is because they do. They put that much effort into their sad activities.
Bro, if you heard these tapes, you'd be shocked.
That's right. No, I'm familiar with what you're talking about, and you don't put that much effort into something that doesn't matter to you. You don't.
Yeah.
Whether it's financial, sexual, psychological compulsion, you do not put that much effort into something that is not important to you.
That's like Reese here, man. He just does the old 5-knuckle shuffle on his piss pump in 4 minutes or less. He's done. He's out. He's good.
That was uncalled for.
Oh,
it was. It was really uncalled
for. That killed the conversation too.
Oh my god, dude!
Let's get too serious in here, man.
Heavy.
It's heavy.
But the reason,
shit.
Look,
Jean-Luc, I just need you to say one thing for me, Jean-Luc. I need my friends who are listening want to hear you say, and I thought I was high tea.
And I thought I was high tea.
Thank you. I love it.
Like that. I can do it different ways if you want.
Oh no, that was perfect. You got it down.
And I thought
you're him, aren't you? You don't have to lie. You can. It's okay. You can tell me you're him. Let's pretend you are him. Let's pretend I'm a Satanist and you're Jean-Luc.
We could do that the other way. We could do that the other way around more easily. But anyway, okay, I'll pretend. You're talking about Red Connery, right?
Red Connery, yeah.
I don't think of him as Jean-Luc. I think of him as Red Connery.
Well, he
like
wants everyone to think of him as Jean-Luc.
He is a complicated man. He is a complicated man.
He was a complicated man.
Okay.
So anyhow, off of the subject of all of the drama, the social proof, the concept of a society that we live in.
We can keep going.
We live in a society.
That's fine. Let's keep going.
I know we can, but since you're on, I want to talk about some of the stuff that I'm excited for with Megawatt and the.
No, let's not talk about that since we've been talking about all this other stuff.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
I don't know. It's I don't care. Dude, I'm willing to give you time here, but if you
Megawatt versus the Vampires of the Sun, that's what you want to talk about? MegawattComic.com. That's MegawattComic.com.
That's the wrestler one, right?
Yes.
That is the Luchadores Enmascarados.
Luchadores. Yes. I wrote a role-playing game where you play luchadores, actually.
Really? That's really cool.
Tabletop.
I figured. You didn't get in the masks and it was a weird sex thing.
Well, not related to that game anyway, no. But
your role play's yours, dude. It's okay.
Yeah. But yeah,
I was shaming.
Now we're back to war campaign again. What the hell?
I'm not talking about them.
No. Okay. But Megawatt, of course, is I'm so excited for this book. It's a take on the Luchador films, and I'm so stoked to get my hands on that book.
It is. Most people don't realize that in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, there were over 150 luchador movies made in Mexico. So basically what it was like, imagine they were going to make Captain America, but they only had like $100,000 to spend. And instead of, Captain America, they just went out and they got Rey Mysterio from the WWE. That's a luchador film, right? That's essentially what these are. No budget superhero movies, luchador as superhero. And these were immensely popular in the 50s, 60s, and 70s in Mexico. And then, like all things, they die out, kind of like the Western here. It just kind of, but every once in a while you still get a good Western. Well, there hasn't been anything really good with luchadors in many years. And I thought, man, this would be so much fun. And little kids would be instantly attracted to something like this, and little boys they just don't have anything. When I was a kid, we had Monster Squad and the Goonies and Stand By Me. I mean, all these things that featured kids. Not to say that this features kids. It does feature one male child. But it's, there's not entertainment geared toward masculinity anymore. They don't, it's all still there. Like kids, it was, Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone, Jean-Claude Van Damme and Dolph Lundgren, all these buff studs, Hulk Hogan, everywhere you turn, like there's a big buff Greek god flexing and posing. And kids today, they just don't seem to get that anymore. And I thought, man, this would be perfect. It has no language in it. It's got plenty of like vampire kid violence, like the vampires spurt green blood or blue blood if they're royal vampires. But it still has like a super modern plot. I like to call it the first luchador story set in the 21st century. And this is what it's about. This coven of vampires living on the outskirts of Portland, Oregon, are importing illegal immigrants in the back of trucks, bringing them in for supper time, right? Because here's the thing is what happens when an illegal immigrant disappears? Nothing. These people don't have social security cards, like they went back to Mexico. I don't know, whatever, we'll go get another guy to fill this job, it's whatever. They'll be back. So these vampires, of course, are going to take advantage of this. And they find a very unscrupulous politician. Maybe you've heard of corrupt politicians. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of that. That's a thing. They find a corrupt politician to help them loosen the immigration laws in Oregon so that they can start importing more and more and more, because the vampires have discovered something within the blood of some of these beautiful Mexican women. There is something in the blood that allows these vampires to walk during the day. And if vampires can walk in the sunlight, then vampires can come out of the shadows and take over the entire world and shift the balance of power away from humans forever. To find out if they do, go to megawattcomic.com, where you can be drawn into the comic book. Check this out. We set 10 people could be drawn as wrestling fans. We only have one left. 9 people have already taken it up. It's only $75. And that gets you the book and the poster too. And your name printed in the back. Pretty good deal. Starring Matthew Reese. Starring Zombie Nomicon Mizell. I don't know. What's your real name? Zombie Nomicon.
Zombie Nomicon's fine.
If you have a real name.
Just call me Jean-Luc, apparently. I don't know what that's about, but anyway.
I think one of the things I'd seen Matt working on and getting ready to pitch the project for a while, and I was very, very keen on it. I think it's just great. I discovered Luchador Films a few years ago, thanks in small part to Mystery Science Theater, and I just think that it's they're just fun. And so when Matt was talking about this, I was like, I'm really keyed into it. And a couple weeks ago, I was listening to you talking on the Niobe channel on JP's, and you were talking about did Matt have to come back?
Sorry about that. I apologize. Double the fun right now. Double the fun.
Okay, let's try that.
My evil twin. That was my evil twin. Who was that?
Cool superpower.
It was the double.
Superpower.
We need all sorts of extra crypto comics. But anyway, as I was saying, Matt, I heard you talking on JP's stream, talking about the not JP, LP.
Larry Patrick Higgins from Rebel Gaming and Rebel Comics.
Absolutely, talking about the illegal immigrant angle, and that's just awesome. That's just good stuff, man.
Or undocumented immigrant, if you prefer. Whatever.
Either way, the fact that you can deal with using a topical issue that hasn't stopped being topical since the 80s.
Yeah.
And in a way that is not debilitating or cruel, but is very, very frank and honest and entertaining.
Yeah, and this is the other thing I want to say about this is it doesn't matter who you voted for. This comic isn't left right politics in my comic book. This is just a corrupt senator. The party he belongs to is inconsequential. There's corruption on all sides of the political spectrum. And so, I just say illegal immigrant or undocumented immigrant. It doesn't matter to me. Whatever you want to say. It's just an entertaining story that isn't overly complicated. It's pretty clear, black and white, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it was in the first season of Dusk to Dawn, the series. They had that one sequence. I don't know if you ever watched it, but
I didn't.
The head vampire was the guy who played the Indian guy, whatever he was meant to be on that 70s show. So that was quite jarring. But they had a van full of illegal immigrant girls in the back of a van. And that's basically what they did. They drove them into a warehouse, pulled the back of the van up. None of them made it out of the warehouse alive because the vampires ate them.
Yeah, exactly.
But they didn't.
Exactly.
But they didn't pursue it. That was really interesting. But it didn't. They didn't sort of follow that. They escalated the stakes in the story too rapidly. They're probably worried about cancellation. So
should we screen share the Kickstarter? Is that how this works, Matt?
Yeah, go for it, man.
Oh, okay. Let me do it then. Let me get it going here. That way, people have a better idea if it's their kind of thing. The artwork is amazing. It's by a gentleman named Josh Spencer. He is out of Sydney, Australia. He's the coolest dude. He's the coolest dude. So let me figure out how to do this. Let's see. We're gonna screen share it now, kids. Here we go. Yeah, let's do it.
There's actually some amazing Australian comic book artists, but we don't really have an industry here, sad to say. I'm sure somebody will now put the skids up me and say, yes, we do, but really, come on, we don't. We used to have the equivalent of newsstand comics, but they never seem to last. Just not a big enough market.
Can you guys see it?
No.
I got to add the string here. Here we go. There we are. Look at that.
Look at that. Is that not gorgeous?
It is. It is.
We have 36 days to go. We're inching our way up there, but we need everybody to come on board.
$7,000 goal
and make this happen.
How many backers?
I'll read it to you. Let me just. Excuse me. We have 28. 28 today. By the end of this stream, hopefully we'll have 30.
Yeah.
Megawatt versus the Vampires of the Sun begins this campaign as a 48-page comic, but can grow to an 80-page glow-in-the-dark trade paperback with enough incredible backers like you supporting it. Megawatt versus the Vampires of the Sun tells the tale of Megawatt, an up-and-coming young luchador who must unite with his tag team partners, Golden Heart and Tiger Shark, to unravel the mystery of the beautiful young women disappearing from their close-knit community of immigrants in the Pacific Northwest, and how a corrupt local politician is involved. Our heroes' blood really starts pumping when they discover a coven of villainous vampires are behind the abductions, and that the blood-sucking baddies have a nefarious plan that will change the future for both humans and vampires forever. All backers of Physical Perks get their name listed with back pages of the book. Here we see Machete. No, that's not Machete. Here we see Machismo. I'm not going to say that it's based, it's inspired by Danny Trejo, but it's not based on Danny Trejo. Certainly, Danny Trejo's never gone around killing vampires that we know of.
Yet.
Here you see Megawatt taking out some of these suckheads. His buddies, Golden Heart and Tiger Shark, staking one of these bloodsuckers. And this is what happens, when you get staked when you're a vampire. You explode. Explosion of blinding purple light. Megawatt versus the Vampires of the Sun. There they are.
Yeah. During your last launch, before you shuttered it early because of the
Indiegogo.
Yes.
Yeah.
One of the things you're on a stream talking about it, and one of the things that you said, and I thought this was phenomenal. You said that it had just enough, it was just scary enough so that young boys will feel brave reading it.
Yeah, that was really the goal, was what's not too heavy for a kid. And that's a really hard line to straddle. Like, that's the Disney line where, can I take the kids to it and not, because, this is the basic thing every parent wants when they go to every normal parent wants when they go to a movie. I don't want to have to answer any complicated questions because you made a movie and talked about things that my children don't need to know about.
Right. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things like that I instantly thought back to when I got into comics in the late 80s, right?
Yeah.
Late 80s, early 90s. That was every issue of Batman, right? Was one of those, or Green Hornet, or any of those stuff where they was just scary enough where you were like, ooh. But you knew Batman was going to win at the end. There was a surety to it, and
that's what Doctor Who was like as well. The television show Doctor Who was always like that until recently.
I could never get into Doctor Who myself. But.
Well, I mean, that's fine. Not everybody has to, but it had the same basic objective: scary but not ridiculous. That's all changed now, of course.
So you can see, you can be drawn into the book. You can be these vampires right here.
Uh-huh.
So, and the fulfillment date you guys are shooting for is April. Am I remembering that right?
June of 2020. I would rather tell people a later date and deliver early. Just from the experience with Little Girl Lethal and seeing how that's working for Jimmy. He's a first time guy. Doug Garrett did really good on Lone Wolf. And now with Legends of the Lone Wolf, we're about Legends of the Lone Wolf on our shipping date. We estimated October, and we still got a few pages left in my story, no less. And so I said, well, I want to really create like a good window here. But Josh is a full-time artist, so it's not like he goes to a day job and then comes back home and, crunches out, half a page that night. So he can make this goal. You know what I mean? For shout. And you can be in it. Like, you can join Art T-Bear. This is the Mexican Art T-Bear right here. Dios mío.
Aye.
And how much is that?
Yeah. To be what? A vampire?
Yeah.
$100. And that gets you the book and, poster and get your name printed. And I'm thinking about maybe like doing it as, end credits to a movie for people that actually buy a spot in the book. So it like says, vampire, Matthew Reese. I think that'd be cool.
It would. It'd be lovely.
And maybe even show their face there if they, I don't know. I'll float it by everybody and see what they think. Some people may not want that. I think it's cool though. Normal people would want that.
I think so.
That's what I think of. This is the ring announcer. So, somebody picked this one up already. You can be the ring announcer who announces Megawatt and all the other luchadors down to the ring. You can be the referee here. And so you get featured on a bunch of pages. You can be, let's go back up a little bit here. So for $75, you can be drawn as a wrestling fan, either at ringside or outside of the sports arena when they leave the venue for the night. And there's 10 of those. Well, there were 10 of those. Now there's only one left. And we tried to keep it low for people so that they could actually, because you see all these other people and they, be drawn into our book for $300. Yeah, it's like you get drawn in one panel and it's like, it's not worth it, man. Give them something good.
Some of them are way more than that too. Like,
yeah.
I don't know what that's about. I'm
sure. Oh yeah. Like you can be the villain for, $3,000.
Yeah. It just seems, I don't know what do I know? Maybe people do it. Just seems unlikely though.
And I figured because, the vampires all appear on multiple pages. So that's why we jacked that one up to 100 from 75. It's because you get drawn in, more than as a wrestling fan. You can be a wrestling journalist, which is Megawatt and his friends get asked some questions by wrestling journalists outside of the venue when they leave. So you can be like, the news agent asking questions. And let's see. And of course, the referee, as we already talked about.
It looks like a beautiful comic.
And then, of course, anyone who does back one of these tiers where you get drawn in, those people I will send like a secret little link so they have the opportunity to get in first when we do book 2. That way they can be, you can actually be throughout the whole miniseries. I would love to do this.
How many books are there going to be?
Okay, so the Megawatt story is approximately 156 pages total. Megawatt versus the Vampires of the Sun is 156 pages. My hope was that we would raise enough money that we could expand this book to 80 pages, and then hopefully we could just make it over 2 books, and they'd be 80 pages each. But that's, of course, all up to the people. So this first book is 48 pages. And so it would end up being probably 3 books instead of 2.
Right.
If we're doing, 48 to 64 pages a book.
And are they coming out one a year?
Well, I'd love to get them out faster than that, but I mean, it's all about.
No, I'm not trying to be an ass about it.
You're not being an ass about it. Don't think you are. It's just like that situation where it's like, crap in one hand and wish in the other and see which one fills up first, right? And Josh, like I said, Josh is a full-time artist. I can pay him to sit and draw. The problem is I have to pay him because artists have to sleep under a roof and have to have electricity and have to eat food. Other than that, they don't really need much. I've noticed they're a lot like writers. They do. They don't need much. I'm happy to just sit here and write more stories for people. It's nice to flush the toilet. So yeah, man, we could do this. I'm pretty confident we could crank out a book once a quarter. One of these once a quarter, if we could. It's. Can I hire another colorist? Can I hire an inker? That would, Josh is already doing it on tablet, so it's already going pretty fast. But if we could hire 2 more people, whoa, like then we're smoking. Then we have an assembly line. That's how that's obviously how they all do it, right? They got the assembly line. When you're all on your own, it's like, because he's doing it all. He's coloring it. He's doing everything here. And he's
Do you
good.
think there's any standardization yet for the indie books? Do you think there's any sort of standard pattern the more successful in terms of output people are using?
No, I think, honestly, I think that there are people who are hungry and there are people who are not. And the people who are hungry are outputting a lot. You look at John Delarose. Yeah. You look at Doug Garrett. You look at Skinny Matt Veely. That dude, that dude's trying to write for anyone he can. He's doing stuff with the ashcancomicsPub.com. Doug Garrett wants to get into more books. He's chomping at the bit for Legends of the Lone Wolf to go to print. He just wants to get it to people so he can get his next book out. And, we've been talking about, we've had this conversation for months about it'd be great if, 5 of these indie guys could get together and do something as, one package deal. So for, 25 or 30 bucks, you get 5 books at once.
Yeah.
But it took us, it took everybody a year to figure out who's mustard and who's not, who wants it and who got paid a year ago to release a book and they're 9 months late, 6 months late. Like, and until you know who those people are, it's hard to know who to get in bed with.
And do you think there's any market for an American style shonen jump where you just have a big digest book? So instead of 5 different books, you've got one big ass book and 5 comics worth inside it, sort of thing?
I don't know. I'm a collector of floppies. I don't buy trade paperbacks.
Well,
so I'm not the best person to ask.
I didn't really mean a trade paperback, you see. That's the thing. It would be because you're not really collecting a series. You're not really doing normal trade paperbacky things. You're really just trying to get some economies of scale kind of thing.
No, I'm just saying like a trade paperback in the physical sense where, this is a perfect bound book. Like we did like Legends of the Lone Wolf, our book, which legendsofthelonewolf.com, legendsofthelonewolf.com, still available on Indiegogo. It's Legends of the Lone Wolf. No, it's actually, it's lonewolflegends.com. That's how you get it.
You didn't even schmutt properly.
Sorry, my bad.
If you're going to schmutt properly.
Yeah, and back Megawatt first. Megawatt needs it much more than Lone Wolf needs it right now. But we did that was an anthology book, and there's, a dozen of us working on Legends of the Lone Wolf. And I think almost everybody's done. I think Meyer is taken the longest, but it's because I wrote a 38-page story for it. And so, we're a third of the book. So, Meyer's drawing Meyer Moonier. Follow him on Twitter. Check him out. Broken and the Damned is his free web comic on tapas.io. That's tapas.io.
Man, you're a machine.
Broken and the Damned by Meyer Moonier.
Have you got this stuff all written down, or are you just rattling it off the top of your head?
No, I just memorize it, I just memorize it and say it. I'm pissed that I said legendsofthelonewolf.com too. I'm pissed. It's Lone Wolf Legends. Megawattcomic.com, then lonewolflegends.com, and then reward yourself by having a free read of Broken and the Damned on tapas.io by Meyer Moonier. And then I take a breath, and I forgot your question. Oh, the Shonen Jump. So that, we did an anthology book. So, everybody wrote a different story, but it's all one character. What you're talking about is not even like set in the same world. It's completely.
That's right. Literally. Yep. That's right.
That's cool. That's a cool idea too. Is there a market for that? I don't see why there wouldn't. I mean, there's obviously an American market for Shonen Jump.
That's right. Some people are saying there is absolutely a crying out market for that if the price point is correct. And other people are very much in disagreement, such as Eric Larson. So
the reason I think that there would be a market honestly, is if and to look at a similar product. It's not the same product because it's not in their bailiwick, but you look at what Alterna is doing with their. It came out on a Wednesday. You know, it's a bi-monthly anthology title. It's $2. It's like 48 pages with like usually 5 different stories in it. You know, it sells. It sells. People buy it back issues.
Here's my thing though, is like it sells, but are the people making the book breaking their neck and not making anything because it's just newsprint and so it's cheap? It's a great way. It seems like a great way to get into the business.
I don't think that Starvation Poverty Row publishers like that. I don't. I think there is a margin there. I don't want to get into it, but I'm pretty sure there's a margin. So it's a
Don't get me wrong. I love Alterna too.
Well, I mean, I love them, but I mean, I love lots of things, and some of them are very impractical. But I don't think they're impractical. I think it is a business model, and I think that anthology coming out that way, that is incredibly impressive.
I think if Peter Semiotic ever listens to this stream for some reason, he should raise all of his prices 50 cents because everyone would pay it, and he'd be able to, give the artists a little bit more so they're not, because it's hard out here. It's hard out here for a pimp. Trying to get some dollars for the rent. Sorry. You guys should all listen to more hip hop.
And so you should be.
This is
right. Hustle and flow, man. Hustle and flow. How come nobody's photoshopped Caesar's face on the dude from Hustle and Flow? That's what I want really bad right now.
Oh,
I don't know.
Perfect. It's perfect.
I don't know.
I think truthfully, some people are scared of taking him on.
Hell yeah, they should be. He wants them to be. Come on.
Sorry, I'm just lighting another cigar. Hang on.
Yeah, I like that.
Please partake in the golden leaf. All you'd like. That's a.
Well, there's a couple of leaves. There's a couple of leaves in this household, but it's cigars at the moment. So
yeah, I used to be a big tobacco user. Not like all the time, but a big fan. Cigars, pipes. But I am psoriatic, and one of my triggers is nightshades. So if I smoke, I start bleeding, so I can't do it anymore, and it breaks my friggin' heart, man. There's nothing better than a cigar on earth, I don't think.
I am a non-smoker, but
a couple of things come to mind.
But
cigars have got to be right up there. Yeah.
Yes, I respect the Rose of Alabama.
Yep. So please partake.
Well, yeah. Well, what were we talking about?
So no, we just been talking about Shonen Jump anthologies.
Shonen Jump. Yeah, I'm not really familiar, but I know the name, and I appreciate you guys explaining to me what it was. I thought it was just an anime.
It's a brick-sized book that comes out weekly. So
is it weekly?
Yeah, it's pretty sure it's weekly. If it's not, it's got to be fortnightly. They're not.
And how many pages?
500, I think.
Oh.
It's something insane like that. It's something that back in the day Marvel could have done if they wanted to, if they had to. Mm-hmm. But I don't think there's enough indie content, back content, not brand new, fresh. But I don't think there's enough back content to do an anthology like that yet.
No.
But there could be. There could be.
It'd just be nice to see some guys get together and open a publishing house and put out, 5 comics a month.
Yes.
I could do it with my eyes closed if I had the money.
Yeah.
And how much money do you think that would be?
$100,000.
For sure?
No, 200 would be much better. 100, but 100 is the minimum, yeah. To get 5 books into production.
Being serious.
Huh? To get 5 books into production and have the space to put them out? Yeah. Ship them? Yeah.
And would that mean that you've got a market, or would that potentially you've just done your $100,000 and you're gone?
No, you'd have to really spend on marketing too. You got to do a lot of marketing.
And what would the market be?
Oh, I think anyone who reads comics. I wouldn't discriminate it. The manga readers are huge. Like how you get to them, it's all about the book you put out, right? I would say probably advertising and Shonen Jump would be a great way to get to them.
Well, see, years and years ago, I printed something up. It was I think there was 7,000. It was a comic, but also had fanzine stuff in it. But it was a comic. It was like a 4-color comic, old school. I did a deal with Coles Supermarkets, which is a supermarket chain in Australia. I went through their submission process, which is not pleasant. But I got it in the supermarket. We sold out pretty much immediately. They told, glossy cover, full color, no nudity, no this, no that, no the other, no F words. Stuck to that, got it out, sold out completely, couldn't keep up with demand, made more money than we thought we would, and walked away. And
Nice.
It's always stuck with, well, I'm not trying to boast. What I'm saying is thinking outside the box. Like Alterna has done this, which is why I've got such a soft spot for
This
them.
is a great conversation. It's just not a conversation I want in public. I have some really, really interesting thoughts on this
Okay, no problem.
Well,
but I wouldn't put them out there. They're so interesting I wouldn't put them out there because
Understood.
nobody's thought of them yet
No problem.
that I've heard of.
That's all I was going to say.
We're nearing the end of the show, so if you guys want to go off air and talk, we certainly can in a moment.
All right.
Why are we? What?
I usually try to cut off at 9. So
You got to go to bed?
no, I just I have a 7 to 9, and that's when the show's up there, and
I
sometimes
think
it's
the
longer.
people
and
want me
sometimes it's
to
shorter.
put the pressure on you here. They're having a good time.
I feel that your 7 to 9 strange attitude is not in full compliance with the teachings of Caesar. I think that a stream that doesn't go for only God knows how many hours is really not a stream at all, is it? I honestly don't know how anybody can sit there listening for 4 hours, let alone doing it. I mean, they don't have a conversation like we've had, as far as I've seen. It just seems to be, I don't know, nonsense, really. I don't know. I don't know why.
This seems
people
like
listen.
nonsense to me. Except
But
for
at
the
least
part
it's a
where we talked
conversation.
about megawattcomic.com and lonewolflegends.com.
There you
What were
go.
those websites? I missed it.
Oh,
What were the
sorry.
websites?
Megawatt? I'm doing sign language right now. I just don't have my camera turned on. So,
2 T's, right? I'm going to try to put it down here.
yeah, megawatt with 2 T's. Like not like your name. Actually, not like your name.
Well, that's not confusing at all.
There it is, megawattcomic.com. Get yourself drawn into this comic book. And I promise that the next time I make a comic, it'll be more accessible than our Lucha comic. I like it. I like it. The little kids in my family think it's awesome.
No, I think it's great. I'm so excited for this book. I'm not even like, this is great. I'm excited.
Yeah, I think it's fresh. It's different.
It is. It's fresh. It's original. I'm kind of weird. I watch a lot of foreign cinema. I don't watch anime, but I watch a lot of foreign cinema, and
Right.
so my inspirations kind of come from all around the globe. And I don't know.
That's cool.
Yeah, I'm into history and all that. Just I don't know, a ton of weird
I mean,
stuff.
Comic Hut and I were talking the other day about how all the Comicsgate books, self-identified and otherwise, have the same story and almost the same first 3 pages. Rooftop, jump off or get knocked off.
I noticed that.
I'm really not trying to slam them. I've done comic books myself, but Jesus wept, they are all the same. Like, weird, unfunny joke, quip, edgy guy, somebody in their own team gets punched, you're on page 5. And that could be Lone Star, that could be, what's the Richard Meyer one? Jawbreakers. That always seems like such an odd name to me. But anyway.
I like that name. It's a good name, I think.
They're all the same.
There's only 7 stories in the world. It is ironic if that's happening. I did see that for myself in the original Cyberfrog #1 and Lone Star #1, Heart of the Hero. They both had the same. It was the same first scene. It was really interesting, uncanny, if you will.
I was
Uncanny
wondering
X-Men. If you will.
I was starting to wonder if it was an art school thing or something.
No, it's kind of interesting. Mine are not like that. Everything I write. Well, let me define this more. Let me start by saying, a lot of the comic books I'm trying to put out on my own are already polished screenplays. And so I'm adapting from the screenplay to the comic book page, which, I mean, obviously I'm writing a whole new script and having, it's actually a really fascinating process to cut out, see how much you can cut out of a movie to make a comic book. Really, it's a really good learning lesson, actually. So most of my stuff is already written to be very cinematic. And I work with my artist as, when they draw the pages. I don't just hand somebody art and say, go at it. Like, I know what I want to see on the page. And if we're paying someone to draw it, it needs to be what I need it to be. So my relationship, I think, with artists is maybe different than other writers have with artists. And I don't know where I'm going with this. I got off track.
Yeah, since we're talking share and stuff, I would like to share. I don't know that maybe it fits into your observation or not. I wouldn't say that our book that we're working on right now would be considered necessarily a comic skate book per se. But let me see if I can find it here.
I mean, which are you?
I'm just a guy.
Are you? No. You don't get to be that.
Oh yes,
Decide. You have to make a choice. No.
I absolutely get to be that.
Don't make me put baby in the corner.
Plus, you can't quit, apparently.
No.
Well, I never joined.
You're
up.
an SJW. I think you're an SJW.
I got called that today or yesterday, and I was just like,
you're gonna get called it every day now.
Let's have this conversation about social justice and see how that fits in with your worldview, because I don't think that works.
See the metal? He's been wanting to do a digest like Shonen Jump and has just been finding the group to do it.
People have noticed it. They have noticed it. It's an idea that's out there.
He has got a really fun web comic as well, I think. But come on, it's not gonna let me do it. This Windows 10 thing's been.
Are you paying cam girls right now? What is that sound I'm hearing in the background?
I'm playing the Harry Potter phone game now.
Oh, okay.
That's how exciting it's gotten. That's what.
No. It just reminded me, and it's piss irritating if you miss one of their timed events.
Uh-huh.
So, sorry.
Okay. Are you Slytherin or what?
What's a Gryffindor? I've never watched any of the films. I don't like them. I just I like
the first two are good.
I get hospitalized every once in a while, and so I've ended up playing phone games while I'm hospitalized. So.
Is that because you watch Harry Potter that you end up in the Is it something about the children? Send you recoiling to the hospital?
It could, but no. No, I had a potentially fatal infection, and they had to cut my head open, so now I look like Despero without the fin. So,
I'm sorry.
Jeepers, that sounds absolutely awful.
No, I literally have a scar where my third eye would be. So,
and you're literally
a supervillain. Yes,
you're literally a supervillain. You're literally streaming on YouTube from the hospital right now.
No, not now. I have done in the past though. You can hear when I'm in hospital because you hear it's actually quite noisy in a hospital. Yeah, and you hear the ding in the background. No. I'm at home smoking cigars. I'm forbidden to smoke. So.
Oh. Huh.
No, but what I was going to say about this Shonen Jump and things like that, I'm a big fan of Charles Fort and what he said about steam engine time. When it's time for steam engines, people think of steam engines and invent them. This Shonen Jump or something like that, the times come-ish, and somebody's going to do it. It's just who jumps first and who does it successfully, I think.
Oh, maybe when Marvel and DC unite under one banner. That'll never happen, but
I personally think they'll go the other way. I think some of the IP that it's unthinkable will ever be split up. The studios have already shown they can split it up. I think it'll get split.
I think Marvel's already doing that with their. Trying to think of that company that they have that they've contracted to do
IDW.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I think that's what's going to happen, and Disney's just used to that. They've been doing that with Donald and Mickey for decades.
Well, yeah.
Of all crazy things, that Zach site, the Fantastic Four's the Great American Novel guy, I read him for years and years and years, and now we've caught up to the years when he predicted it would happen based on old Avengers comics, because he's a self-admitted autistic person. He has unusual ideas, but he seems to have been correct about the timing of the end of the Marvel Universe and the way that they regurgitate and retread. And he predicts that between 2020 and 2025, Marvel will cease to exist completely. It won't even be a brand within Disney. They'll just be other characters like Mickey Mouse in that Disney Adventures magazine. And they may end up scattered to the nine vectors. Could be an Incredible Hulk here and a Spider-Man there, but no shared universe as such anymore. Don't know.
That would be interesting.
Well, let's face it, there's no Marvel Universe, and there hasn't been for a long time. There's no coherent canon or consistency. And on that basis, the sort of linchpin of what used to make it so delightful is gone, isn't it, really?
Yeah, I think that's probably true.
Oh,
that's actually something that when we were first starting to do our Ideal Comics thing way back in, like I said, 06, 05, one of the reasons that we kind of saw that happening, and I was always a big DC guy, and there all those continuity changing events. And one of the things I just noticed with that was that we had you'd have they'd have to rewrite history because time would move along faster in the real world than it would in the things, and you'd lose relevancy.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that we've always planned on, we always had done with ours is all of our stories are we do a shared universe, but it's all fixed timelines. So everything that you've ever read, whether it's our webcomic or if somebody gets one of our print comics or whatever, everything's happened in the past. Because it's just like that's our comedy webcomic, Force of Good and Evil. It takes place over 2 years of high school for these students, but it's 2004 and 2000. It'll be fall of 2004 to the spring of 2006, and that's the story. So I mean, they've had entire lives after the events that have been described in the webcomic. Grown up and had kids and all that kind of stuff that nobody else knows but me, because it's all inside of my head right now.
Yeah, but it's there.
Yeah, and we've little bits and pieces here and there of those people's stories too. So, but yeah, it's I think you say that the Marvel universe died is definitely. I don't think there's a way to really argue that, especially what it was. I'd say Civil War was probably the end of it, frankly.
I think a long time before that, but you see, they could make it all okay with a Doctor Strange one-off story where he acknowledges that it's happened. And then he just doesn't tell anybody else because it would blow their minds or shatter their world. So he's aware that it's no longer a consistent, continuous universe. That would be it. Just lampshade it once, and I think a lot of people would forgive him.
Yeah,
but I do think a lot of people have actually got a problem with it and don't actually forgive them. I think it's that serious. And yeah, it's a kind of first world nerd problem, but it is a problem because Marvel was the tight continuity comic book universe where all of the comics for quite a few years actually interlocked really, really closely. It was beautiful. It was a thing of beauty to do that, and an act of vandalism to destroy it.
Yeah. So when do you think that happened?
Real World 1968, when it became a brand management company, effectively for about half their line circa 1974, and then by any measure mid-80s. And then, like on that Zach site, he's actually identified different comic books where it's the lasting continuity story, and it drags on for quite a few years in some of them because their stories were so compressed. In other words, 4 years of comics only took place over 2 weeks. So obviously, by the time it's 1990, it's still only 1986 in that comic, in that world. But you can, a couple of guys actually have put them all in a single real world timeline. And, you can actually do it because the Beatles are referenced in the early Fantastic Four, but at a certain point, they go to this crazy relative time thing. I write for the unofficial Marvel Superheroes role-playing game Canon Project, and I wrote the Man-Thing source book. And in that, I put the 3 types of time in for the rules. So you can have timely time, which is vaguely, you don't look at it too closely, but it's kind of real worldish, strict real world, or sliding timescale, depending what sort of game you want to run. And for example, Man-Thing is a creature, pun intended, of the early 70s. And it's difficult for a lot of his best stories to translate to other time periods because it's so drenched in new left politics, new left kind of activism. There's a book burnt in Citrusville story. You can't really do that out of its time, nor should you try. But it interests me. I wrote a parody comic about Archie Andrews' universe where he's the only one who remembers that every 3 years the universe resets. He remembers that he's 70, nearly 90 years old now, but everybody around him doesn't. So it was a horror comic about how whatever happens for 3 years at the end of the third year of high school when they're supposed to graduate, it all just disappears into a mist. And interestingly, of all the comic book companies, the main ones that as were, the Archie comics were the first ones to really do that. They were the first ones to lampshade and acknowledge the parallel universes. Sorry, got to take this. It's business. It was beautiful talking to you. See you.
Have a good one, man. Thank you.
He's great.
Dude.
Who was he?
I don't actually know his name. He goes by Zombienomicron on Twitter. And we've just run in the same circles for about 3 weeks.
Wow.
Arguing over the nature of meaning and social proof. And like I said, I was supposed to have Dan Sakharov on today to talk Star Wars, just like the mythology and the story impact of Star Wars, and he was unable to. He had some family stuff come up, and I couldn't get anyone else to come on last minute, so I just was like, anybody who wants to show up, man. And he was the first person to say so. So yeah, I don't know anything about his real life. I do.
Well, he was cool.
That's not true. He does do. He's mentioned that he does different kinds of business, but one of his hobbies is making low-budget independent films. But I was going to ask him more about it and never got around to it. So I don't know anything other than that.
He was cool.
Now you used to do some of that the movie stuff too, right?
Yeah, sure. I did. There's God. That makes the movie.
I'm sorry, that was not the reaction I was expecting at all. It took me by surprise.
Well, it's, you know what, dude, there's a lot of crooks. There's a lot of crooks in the entertainment industry, and there's a lot of desperate people in the entertainment industry who couldn't come up with a good idea to save their lives, so they'll just try to steal other people's good ideas.
That's true.
And eventually you just get sick of assholes in the world, man. And I thought comics would be a break from that. Apparently not.
So an interesting little side note to that. So, my oldest son is 18. He's in college right now, and we homeschooled him throughout his career, his high school, all that primary, secondary, all that stuff. We just homeschooled. And so the other day he was talking to my wife, and she says, "Well, how do you like classes?" And he's like, "I like classes." And she's like, "How do you like school?" And he says, "I like it." And,
dude, I love it, dude. Zombienomicron has me blocked on.
Oh, really?
Classic. Classic.
I'm gonna have to give him shit about that when we get back on.
I love it.
But anyway,
he was a gentleman and a scholar. He's got me blocked just because he's really Jean-Luc Weisel. That's why.
Maybe. Yeah.
It's so funny.
Anyway, back to my funny story about my kid. So
sorry.
So Amy says, "Well, what's your problem with school?" And he says, "Well, so I didn't go to high school, and so I thought by skipping normal high school, I'd get to college and not have to deal with high school stuff." But
there's not much of
that's
an age
all
gap
there in college. And I said, she told me later on about the story, and I laughed to Amy and I said, "Should we tell him that that's just how the rest of life is, and he should just get used to it?" Because every job I've worked, there's been that political dynamic and the cool kids club and all that nonsense.
Oh, dude, well, somebody's got to work in middle management, right?
Oh my gosh. It's the worst. That's the thing. I just can't get over that little piece of nonsense in the world. But how people gotta try to push themselves up by pushing other people down. I don't get it. And it's one thing to call balls and strikes, and if there's honest criticism about stuff in the world, but it's another thing just to be spiteful. I don't get spiteful. I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't get it either. I don't have time for it.
I like to think I don't get it. I try to not be spiteful. I don't know. Other
No.
people got to tell me if I pull it off, I guess. But
No, yeah, you don't strike me as the spiteful type.
so, yeah. But anyway,
Misery loves company.
that's true.
I think that's what it is. Misery loves company.
I think some people like to pretend they're not miserable by pretending to be powerful. I think that's a factor that doesn't get talked about very often.
Exists in the world too. That's for sure. Yeah, they get a piece of power, and or they get money. Money doesn't change you. Money just shows who you really are.
Yeah, it's so funny how many things in the world are like that. Force multipliers. A whiskey's the same way. It doesn't change who you are. It just lets you be you more.
Yeah.
You're either an asshole or you're not, and whiskey tells you pretty quick.
That's right. Man.
But lots of things in the world are like that. Power, money, even affection is like that.
Why you get cut off at the bar will tell you a lot about your character.
That's a wonderful adage.
I didn't understand the last time I got cut off because, it was a dance club and I was just dancing. Apparently, you're supposed to have a shirt on. I don't know.
Well, it
might have been like when I did the pirouette ballerina. Like, I don't even know if it's called a pirouette. Like when the ballerina jumps with her arms flailed out like wings. I think it was maybe when I did that toward the bar.
I am not a ballet connoisseur, but I believe that a pirouette is the
is that
air, this thing.
Oh, you're good at that with your fingers, though. The ladies probably dig you.
I only care about one. So.
Okay.
But yeah. So it is after 9. We have been on for I have been on for just about 2 hours. I want to thank everybody.
Feels good, doesn't it? Does it feel good? Are you ready to push it over the limit?
Oh no, man! I'm good, man. I'm tired.
Yeah.
I
think you can go all the way.
But see, here's the situation we're at, Matt. Is I have comics to finish. And
what do you mean?
I need to go work on them.
Dude, he's never gonna get super chats making comics.
Well, I can't even. I have too few subscribers to even monetize myself. So.
Well, have you thought about maybe attacking someone?
Well, I occasionally call people on bullshit, but I don't want to get praise for that. So,
have you ever considered dildo memes?
I have not, because I
have you ever thought about buying subscribers like some people do?
I know.
You know who I'm talking about? Some people do buy subscribers.
I'm aware. I can imagine that it happens in many different currencies, but
rupees.
At the risk of seeming judgy or shit stirring, I don't want people to subscribe that don't appreciate the content.
Yeah.
Because this is the thing, I want to have good conversations with people about existential important things such as mythology and fiction. And
well, let's have an existential conversation about this rug or flag or blanket that you're flying behind you.
Well, I will move to the side and show it off. It's just a curtain.
Okay.
It's a bed.
You grow dope behind that curtain or what?
No, this is my other room.
Oh, okay.
We had to replace the door.
Are you Satanist too?
What?
You're a Satanist too?
Oh, no. I just need a new door.
You want to be?
No.
Okay.
I like Jesus.
Oh, me too. He's cool.
I'm a big fan of Jesus. I'm just also, part Irish, so I dig the insular art style on stuff. Yeah. Irish and Welsh is my ethnic heritage. So.
I can't believe that guy.
I know, right?
He's a Satanist.
Yeah.
This guy's a Satanist.
I was like, dude, your symbolism, your symbology is totally wrong. It's
You know what was really crazy about it though is that I had a script I was writing, and so I had been doing like a lot of like really deep digging on Aleister Crowley.
Oh yeah,
and it was the whole like esoteric nature of symbology that inspired me with the logo, the Crypto Comics logo. So in a weird way, I mean, you know, it was inspired by the occult, right?
Yeah.
But the occult is not, you know, what people think it is. They think that's devil worshippers, and it's not what it means at all.
Yeah, it just means the obscured things.
Yeah, the obscured things, yes.
Yeah. Although some of that is devil worship too, but
yeah, that's true. That is true. That's part of it. Yeah, that's an aspect.
Yeah,
they shouldn't say part. It's not really part of a whole. It's just an aspect of something.
Yeah. Yep. Are you observing the things that are hidden, or are you trying to manipulate the hidden things for your own benefit?
That's, you know, I'm just a student of the game.
Yeah,
student of the game.
Anyway, man, I'm going to go ahead and end
you
the
made
broadcast.
it. You made it over 2 hours. You made it over, brother.
I did. You
knew
got me on a
I'd
tangent. It doesn't take much, but
I'm gonna get you there.
I'm a pretty distractible dude. But I am going to go ahead and take off. For those of you who, I know there's some people that watch replays. I hopefully you found this enlightening, and if you're
watching it, go to megawattcomic.com. Also,
do that, and also let people know that the Zombie Nomicron is in the chat and said all good, had fun. Thank you for having me.
Unblock me on Twitter, Zombie Nomicron. Unblock me on Twitter, dude.
And hopefully
at Crypto Creates.
Oh my god, yeah, that's a ticket. And also, if you guys would like to subscribe to my channel, if I get above 100, I can change the name to something findable, so then people can actually seek me out. That's the only thing I care about. I don't care about monetizing, but I'd like to be, locatable. Anyway, have a good one, guys, and thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.